Hello, crafty friends. This is Leah Lawson, and I'm thrilled to be back on the Alt New channel with my latest edition of Light and Airy with Leah. Today, we are going to feature the new Zero Waste Beneath the Blue die set. This is a fabulous underwater scene die, and we are going to cut that from 5x7 sized panels of white cardstock and Dewdrops cardstock from Altenew, and that we are going to cut that larger zero waste panel from. We are also going to die cut from some brushed gold cardstock from Altenew, the additional little rock dies that are included in the die set. They've got really fabulous detail in them, and I think that brushed gold cardstock is really going to make that shine. So, great time to pause. Go ahead and do all of your die cutting, but I did want to give you a quick tip. If you're struggling to get these more intricate dies to die cut, try adding a bubble mailer panel behind your paper. I actually did this with this die set for this video, and it really helped me get nice, clean, and all the way through cuts because this is a large die and there's a lot of intricateness to it. So, after die cutting all of the pieces, we have the blue background panel. We have all of the pieces from white and brushed gold. We have the bubble pieces that I've kept in one little container. And then we have the dewdrop pieces, which I'm not using today, so you can go ahead and set those aside and save them for another project. To begin, we need to create a shaker window from that dewdrops background piece. Now I have added liquid glue to the back of the zero waste die cut piece. And I am now just adhering a panel of clear acetate to the front. I wanted to do this first because I wanted to give time for that glue to set up and stay and adhere to that cardstock piece. There was lots of those little tiny pieces in the middle, and I wanted to make sure they adhered down nice and secure. So I set a couple of clear blocks on there, and while that is setting in place, we're going to go ahead and ink blend all of the white die cut pieces. We're starting with the jellyfish, the starfish, and a couple of little pieces of greenery. And I am ink blending the jellyfish in a combination of pool and oolong tea. Then we're coming in with those adorable little starfish, and we're ink blending those in sunlit sand. And then once we finish ink blending the starfish, we will use oolong tea again to ink blend those little pieces of sea greenery. And I've sped the video up a little bit here. I always think that there is something to be learned from watching someone's entire ink blending process, but I also didn't want the video to take up your entire day, so I just sped this part up a little bit. So now we're ink blending the pieces of coral, and I have chosen Pink Pearl and Coral Bliss for these 4 pieces. And I'm just ink blending them a little deeper at the base of the die cut and then softening the blend as you get towards the outer points of that die cut. This is a really great way to keep your card nice and light and airy. You can have depth of color in your light and airy cards, but by adding that bit of gradation to your die cut elements, that really helps give that feel. So our final little bit of ink blending here, we're coming in with matcha tea, icy lemonade, and coral red, and we're just finishing up the last little bit of seaweed / sea greenery, those little pieces of greenery, kind of corally greenery, and then finally these cute little underwater flower elements we are finishing up in that nice deep coral red. And once again, I am adding a bit of gradient. This is what all of the pieces look like ink blended together. And of course, we have those adorable brushed gold rocks, which I think are just going to give a lovely warm tone to our card once we start assembling it. Speaking of assembly, it's time to create the shaker element. Now I've gone ahead and I've added some instant dimension foam tape to the back of my shaker window, making sure that I didn't add any foam tape in the middle where it would interfere with the shaker mix that we want to put on the front of our 5x7 card base. Now 5x7 cards aren't a card size I create super frequently. They seem to be a very large palette for me, but this zero waste die was perfect for creating a little bit larger scale card. So right now I'm just scattering my shaker mix to the front of the card base, making sure that I remove any that might hit the edges of the foam tape. I started with a little bit of glitter, and then I came in with a layer of clear iridescent sequins, and now I'm coming in with a layer of shimmering pool sequins. I've picked the two smallest sizes of those colors in the stellar sequins, and they're just really perfect for shaker mixes. I wanted a little bit more blue. And then finally, all of those die cut bubbles from the zero waste that we cut earlier in the video, I'm adding those on top just because they're a perfect little shaker fill. So once again, verifying that everything is away from where the foam tape will adhere to the card base. And then once I'm comfortable with that, I'm just removing the release paper from the foam tape, and I am centering that and aligning it with the card as best as possible. And there we have our zero waste beneath the blue shaker window for our card. And it is just so cute. I love how it turned out. Now, I had to put the foam tape pretty close to the edge. So if it's feeling a little sticky, if you make this card, just hit the edges of the card with some anti-static powder, and that will remove any stickiness that you might have. One other tip, where the seams or where the foam tape seams together, if you hit that with a little bit of liquid glue, it will make sure none of your small shaker mix flies out of the shaker. Now I want to ground this by adding a strip of, I think it's Shimmering Lake glitter cardstock from the Shimmering Shore glitter cardstock pack. That is a mouthful. All right, before we start assembling the rest of the card, we do need a sentiment. So I'm grabbing the Graceful Seahorses stamp set. This is one of the mini delight sets. And I am going to heat emboss that Beauty Shines Beneath the Surface sentiment in antique gold to some white cardstock. So I'm just using my stamp wheel and prepping the cardstock panel with some anti-static powder, and then inking the stamp up with some embossing ink. Now you only see me stamp it once, but I do typically stamp 2 to 3 times to get a nice good impression. Once I'm comfortable with the stamp impression, I am going to go ahead and cover the stamped sentiment in antique gold embossing powder. And we just have that lovely, it's going to be a lovely shiny gold sentiment. The final step in heat embossing is melting that embossing powder with a heat tool. And make sure your heat tool is nice and heated up before you get going, and then it will melt the embossing powder nice and smooth and nice and evenly. And then we just have this beautiful warm toned shiny sentiment. It will match those gold rocks that we die cut earlier perfectly. Now this set does not have a coordinating die for the sentiment. However, the third smallest nesting arch fits it perfectly. So I am using that die to run it through my cute little mini blossom die cut machine right here. And then I thought it needed a little something extra. So I'm grabbing just a scrap piece of the Sparkling Water glitter cardstock from the Shimmering Shore collection and grabbing the nesting arch that's just one size larger than the one we used for the sentiment. And I am going to cut that out using my little mini blossom machine as well. And this will help anchor that sentiment on our background and just give it a nice shimmery and glittery outline. At this point, it is time to start assembling. You'll notice I added a little bit of foam tape underneath the sentiment element, and then there also is a little bit underneath the top layer rock. So at this point, I'm just starting to grab the pieces and create a little underwater scene where I think everything looks best. There's no rhyme or reason to this. I am just picking things as I go and trying to make the cutest little scene I possibly can. So I am bunching some of the elements down in that lower left corner. And then you'll notice I'm adding the jellyfish with kind of like a starfish and floral accent up in the upper right corner. And then right directly below that is the sentiment. But this helps create a visual triangle on our card front, which draws your eye to all of the different elements. This is a really key element of design in lots of arts and photography and all of that. So it's a design principle that I use quite often. And it's perfect for this big 5x7 format as well. Well, we're almost done getting all of the little elements into place. I don't end up using every single one, and that's okay. I can set those aside and use them on a different card or tag at a later date. Now, off camera, I'm going to go ahead and glue those into place so you don't have to watch that tedious work. But this is our super fun Zero Waste Beneath the Blue Shaker card, and I really hope you enjoyed watching it come together today. Light and airy cards can still have lots of color, and one way to achieve a really nice light and airy look is to use gradation in your ink blending, where an area of the ink blending is dark, and then you fade it out to be nice and soft. Now, everything that you need is listed in the video description below, including a link to the coordinating blog post and also a link to all of the products that I featured today. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and do all of the things so you don't miss out on any videos in the future. And other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy crafting!
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Alternate YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye!